In the constant noise of the modern world, people are relentlessly searching for answers outside themselves. They look for validation in other people, for success in wealth, for happiness in achievements, and for peace in external circumstances. They chase goals thinking that when they finally acquire them, they will experience a profound sense of fulfillment. Yet, often when they arrive, they find themselves feeling more hollow than before. The goals that once seemed to promise everything now feel empty. The recognition they craved now feels fleeting, and the peace they were chasing seems to have slipped further away. This happens because we are conditioned to look outward, to believe that the world holds the key to our contentment. But the truth is unsettling and powerful. Nothing out there can complete you. Nothing out there can make you whole. The real journey begins when you stop looking out there and start looking within. The most engaging and life-altering realization is this: the solution to your deepest problems is not in the external world, it is within yourself. It is not found in books, gurus, awards, or the opinions of others. The treasure you are seeking, the peace you are craving, the strength you are missing, it has always been inside you, but it has been covered, buried beneath layers of fear, distraction, ego, and noise. We spend so much time adjusting our environment, trying to control situations and other people, thinking that this will bring us peace. But even if the whole world was perfectly arranged to suit your desires, you would still suffer if your inner world remains in chaos. There is a profound story that captures this beautifully. Imagine someone standing in a dark room, searching frantically for their keys. Someone walks by and asks what's going on. "I lost my keys in the house." The person says, "But I'm looking out here because there's more light." It seems ridiculous, but this is exactly what most people are doing with their lives. They have lost their peace, their clarity, their purpose somewhere inside themselves, but they are looking out there because it feels easier, because the world's spotlight is brighter. The light outside is seductive, but the keys to your life are inside. There's a moment in everyone's life when silence screams louder than noise, when the world keeps spinning, but you feel stuck. Your potential sleeps inside you like a lion drugged into submission. You wake up tired, you look in the mirror and don't even recognize the person staring back. You tell yourself it's just a phase, but it's not, it's a loop, and if you don't break it, it will break you. We're not here to sugarcoat reality. This is not about motivation. This is about confrontation, confronting the truth that most people spend their lives avoiding. You are not where you want to be, not because you're unlucky, not because the world is unfair, not because others are privileged. You are not where you want to be because you haven't done what's required. This speech isn't a gentle whisper telling you that everything's going to be okay. It's a punch in the chest, a wake-up call. It's about the price of staying broken, and if you're not willing to pay the price of discipline, consistency, and responsibility, then you will continue to pay the far greater cost of regret, stagnation, and decay. Do this or stay broken. What is this? It's not some mystical ritual. It's not overnight success. It's not about following trends or downloading another productivity app. It's about returning to what was always required: honesty with self, control over your own mind, and courage to act daily despite pain, doubt, and failure. Imagine this: waking up and your body obeys your mind, not your impulses. Entering chaos but carrying calmness like armor, failing, but without collapsing, succeeding, but without arrogance. You don't stumble into such strength, you forge it, but most people won't. Most people would rather scroll than suffer. They'd rather explain than evolve. They'd rather stay comfortable in their chaos than be uncomfortable in transformation. But comfort is the enemy of change, and avoidance is the root of every personal disaster. So here's the question: will you break the cycle, or will you stay broken? Because every second you delay the discipline, the damage grows louder, and no one is coming to save you. Not a book, not a podcast, not a mentor, not a savior. You are the weapon, you are the enemy, you are the medicine. Do this or stay broken. The path is not easy, it never was and it never will be. That's what makes it the path. If transformation was simple, the world wouldn't be filled with broken dreams and shattered spirits. If discipline was natural, mediocrity wouldn't be the norm. You must understand that this journey, this real, brutal, honest journey, is not for the crowd. It's for the rare few who are done being broken. Let's be very clear. Staying broken is a choice. You can lie to yourself and say it's circumstances. You can cry about your past, blame your surroundings, even point fingers at your genetics or upbringing. But at some point, sooner or later, you'll face the same mirror with the same haunting question: what did I do with what I had? And when that day comes, the only answer that will matter isn't your story. It's your standards. Did you show up even when you didn't feel like it? Did you train your mind to obey your goals, not your emotions? Did you hold the line when it would have been easier to fold? Because life doesn't reward intentions. It rewards action. Staying broken isn't just about failing. It's about surrendering. It's the moment when you say, "This is who I am," instead of saying, "This is who I'm becoming." It's that quiet resignation that whispers, "Maybe this is it for me," when your soul is screaming for more. But you don't have to stay there. That's the beauty of this whole message. You're not trapped. You're just undisciplined. You're not cursed. You're just untrained. Every day, you're writing your future by the choices you make now. And that's the real war, not against others, but against yourself. So what do? You rise before the excuses do. You push when your body says stop. You silence the voice that says, "Not today," and replace it with, "Try me." You build the habits that break your limitations. You cut off comfort like dead weight. You train physically, mentally, emotionally, until who you used to be is unrecognizable, not because you hate that version, but because you outgrew it. This is your life. And it is a limited time offer. You either take control or you stay controlled. You either lead your mind or your mind leads you straight into another year of broken promises and passive days. So choose. Not tomorrow, not next week. Now, do this, or stay broken. Most people leave their entire lives waiting for the right moment, the right mentor, the right wave of motivation to come and lift them from the pit they've quietly built around themselves. They wait for someone to save them from the weight of their own lives. But the brutal truth that few want to face is this: no one is coming, not a single person, and until that truth is fully understood, digested, and faced without emotion, a person will remain broken. The illusion that someone will appear and show us the way is comforting. It's a blanket we wrap around our insecurities. We tell ourselves that when we meet the right person, or when we find the right path, or when we hear the right words, we'll finally change. That's a lie. Change doesn't happen because someone gives you the perfect advice. Change happens when you stop tolerating your own weakness, when you realize that your excuses, your justifications, your waiting, all of it is self-inflicted paralysis. You are responsible for everything in your life, maybe not for the things that happened to you, but for how you've allowed them to shape you, for the way you've responded or failed to respond. Every wound that hasn't been healed is now a chain. Every fear you've coddled is now a ceiling. Every delay, every postponement of discipline is a shovel digging deeper into stagnation. But ownership, brutal ownership, that's the beginning of power. Most people will never take full ownership. They'll take partial responsibility, they'll admit some fault, but there's always a but, some external force to blame. The economy, the family, the partner, the boss, the childhood. There's always a reason why they're not fully responsible. And that one small percentage they refuse to own, that's the crack where their entire strength leaks out. You cannot be powerful in a life where you surrender responsibility for your own condition. Brutal ownership means you walk into your life as it is and say, "I built this." It means looking at the results, your body, your finances, your relationships, your mindset, and saying, "I allowed this, I created this, I let this happen," not as a way to beat yourself up, not as a form of shame, but as the beginning of agency, because if you built it, you can rebuild it. But if someone else is responsible, then you're forever a puppet to circumstances you'll never control. There's a war happening every day inside your mind. And if you don't claim authority over your own thoughts, then someone else already has, your weaker self, the one that wants comfort, the one that's afraid to change, the one that prefers complaining over conquering. That weaker version of you has one job: to keep you broken, and unless the stronger version of you takes control, intentionally, consistently, violently, then your life will remain at the mercy of your most fearful self. This isn't about perfection. This isn't about always getting it right. Brutal ownership isn't the absence of failure. It's the refusal to let failure define your identity. It's getting knocked down and not saying, "Life did this to me," but rather, "I didn't prepare well enough. I underestimated the challenge. I let my guard down, and now I will rise smarter and harder." Victims stay broken because they outsource the responsibility to heal. Warriors rebuild because they understand it's their only option. One of the deepest lies we buy into is that someone else has it easier, that some people are just naturally disciplined, focused, or fearless. That's garbage. Every strong person you see, every composed, confident, resilient individual, paid in silence for that strength. They were scared, they were unsure, but they kept moving. They kept owning their mistakes. They kept showing up, not when they felt like it, but when it was required. And this is what you must understand. The standard for your life is not what you believe it should be. It's what you tolerate. What you accept on a daily basis becomes your baseline. If you tolerate laziness, it becomes your identity. If you tolerate negativity, it becomes your mindset. If you tolerate excuses, they become your language. You don't rise to your intentions. You sink to your standards, and ownership is how you raise those standards. So stop looking for shortcuts. Stop asking for permission. Stop waiting for motivation. The strongest version of you is buried underneath layers of denial and delay. You don't find that version by being nice to yourself. You don't uncover your strength by being passive. You get there through brutal honesty, through ownership so fierce that it leaves no room for self-pity, through waking up and saying, "If my life is not what I want it to be, I will fix it or die trying." This level of ownership demands that you become the person who walks straight into the fire, not to be burned, but to be forged. It means understanding that your potential is not something you discover, it's something you earn. And every day you don't take full control of your actions, your time, your mindset, you're slipping further from that potential. You are drifting passively into a life you never wanted, and no one will pull you out. There's a reason few people become great. It's not talent, it's not intelligence. It's the willingness to be brutally honest with themselves. To say, "This is on me, all of it," and from that place of ruthless accountability, they begin again stronger, sharper, and harder to break. If you want to escape the broken version of yourself, don't wait for someone to save you. Don't wait for inspiration, just stop, take responsibility for where you are, every mistake, every weakness, every delay, and then stand up and say, "This ends with me," and that's where the real journey begins. Discipline is the invisible bridge between who you are and who you could be. It is not a feeling. It's not a wave of motivation or a burst of energy. Discipline is a choice, cold, consistent, and unrelenting. Most people romanticize transformation. They dream about the result but are unwilling to submit to the process. They fantasize about a better body, a sharper mind, a disciplined life. But in the daily reality, they hit snooze, scroll endlessly, eat without thinking, speak without clarity, and live without control. And yet they wonder why nothing changes. It's simple, they lack discipline. The uncomfortable truth is that discipline feels awful in the beginning. It's boring, it's repetitive, it's thankless. There are no instant results, no applause, no one cheering you on. In fact, people will often mock your efforts. They'll call it obsessive. They'll say you're too serious. But that's because they've made peace with mediocrity. They can't stand to watch someone break away from the gravitational pull of weakness, because it reminds them that they've settled. But discipline isn't about impressing others. It's not about external validation. It's about personal liberation. It's about taking your life back from your impulses. Every time you give in to a craving, a distraction, a comfort, you reinforce the prison bars of your broken habits. Every time you choose discipline instead, you chip away at that prison. You become more than just a slave to convenience. You start to become your own master. People often say, "I'm not motivated," but motivation was never the answer. Discipline shows up when motivation leaves. Motivation whispers, "Maybe tomorrow." Discipline says, "Do it anyway." Motivation is the spark. Discipline is the firewood. It's what keeps the flame alive when everything else says quit. And this is where most people fall apart. Not in the dream phase, not in the excitement of starting, but in the middle, where repetition sets in, where results are delayed, and where it feels like no one sees your effort. But that's the test. That's the proving ground. Anyone can start. Few finish. Discipline is what separates the few from the many. It is what forges the unshakable man or woman. You don't need more plans, more advice, or more talks. You need to wake up earlier. You need to do the workout when it hurts. You need to keep reading when you want to quit. You need to speak with intention when it's easier to lie. You need to stay silent when gossip is tempting. You need to keep your promises to yourself, especially when no one is watching. That's the edge most people never cross. Discipline is brutal because it doesn't negotiate with your feelings. It doesn't care that you're tired. It doesn't care that it's raining. It doesn't care that others are resting. Discipline is blind to your mood. It only recognizes one thing: execution. It asks only one question: did you show up today? Not for someone else, for you. And when you do this long enough, something changes. Not just your habits, but your identity. You stop being someone who tries. You become someone who does. You stop being someone who starts and stops. You become consistent, reliable, resilient. You become the kind of person others look at and say, "There's something different about them." That difference, it's not luck. It's not talent. It's years of silent battles won through discipline. Most people fear the discipline because it feels like restriction. They think freedom means doing what you want when you want, but that kind of freedom is a lie. It leads to addiction, chaos, and regret. True freedom is found in restraint. When you can say no to what doesn't serve you, you reclaim control over your life. When you control your mind, your emotions, your reactions, you are no longer a slave to the world. That is real power, and it doesn't come from talking about it. It comes from living it every single day. There's a hidden cost to every undisciplined decision you make. Every skipped workout weakens your resolve. Every indulgent meal chips away at your self-respect. Every time you give in to comfort, you teach yourself that your desires run the show, and over time that adds up, not just in results, but in identity. You begin to see yourself as someone who can't stick to anything, someone who gives in, and that belief, that becomes a cage. But when you choose discipline, even once, you build evidence in the other direction. You start to see yourself as someone who follows through, someone who finishes what they start, someone who does hard things, not because it's easy, but because it's necessary. This shift in identity is everything. Because once you believe you are disciplined, it becomes easier to act like it, and every action reinforces the belief. That's the cycle of strength. The road to becoming unbreakable is paved with days that feel useless. Days where you see no progress. Days where everything in you screams to take it easy. But those are the days that matter most. Those are the bricks that build the fortress. Anyone can work hard when they're inspired. But the person who works hard when they feel empty, that person is becoming unstoppable. Discipline doesn't guarantee success, but a lack of discipline guarantees failure. You might fail with discipline, but you will fail for sure without it. You can't rise above your patterns. You can't out-dream your habits. If your daily behaviors contradict your goals will rot. Wanting more is not enough. You must act in alignment with what you claim to desire. Otherwise, your life becomes a long list of things you almost did, potential you almost reached, a version of yourself you almost became. So how do you start? You start small, but you stay consistent. You train your mind like you train a muscle, every day, no matter how it feels. You stop seeking comfort and start seeking challenge. You let go of excuses. You stop waiting for the mood to strike and start becoming the kind of person who acts regardless. You hold yourself to a standard that doesn't shift with the weather. You become ruthless with your discipline because you understand what's at stake, your future. If you are broken, discipline is the hammer that rebuilds you. But it's also the fire that burns away your weakness. It will not be easy, it will demand everything, but what you get in return is worth more than anything comfort could ever offer. You will get your life back. You will become unrecognizable, and most of all, you will become whole again, not because someone gave it to you, but because you earned it. Through discipline, the battle is not outside. The real war rages inside your own head. People spend their lives fighting circumstances, fighting people, fighting systems, but the enemy that defeats most is the one that lives within, their own mind. The mind is not naturally disciplined. It is not naturally calm. It is not naturally strong. Left untrained, the mind is chaotic, restless, easily broken by pressure, addicted to comfort, and quick to retreat at the first sign of pain. The untrained mind is a dangerous place to live. It tells you stories that you accept without question. It convinces you that quitting is reasonable. It makes you believe that your feelings are facts, and unless you learn to train this wild, untamed part of you, you will live as a prisoner to your moods, your urges, and your fears. Most people let their moods run their life. They wait to feel motivated. They wait to feel ready. They chase pleasure and avoid discomfort. But the hard truth is, your feelings are unreliable. Feelings fluctuate with sleep, with food, with weather, with stress, with random moments that should have no power over your life decisions. But for the undisciplined, these tiny emotional shifts control everything. They dictate whether you show up, whether you push forward, whether you honor your commitments. When you are ruled by mood, your life becomes unstable, reactive, and fragile. Training the mind to dominate the mood is not optional if you want to stop being broken. It is essential. You can have the best plans, the clearest goals, the strongest discipline. But if your mind collapses under pressure, it all crumbles. A weak mind surrenders to distraction. A weak mind negotiates with laziness. A weak mind drowns in doubt. A weak mind believes that comfort is more important than progress. And worst of all, a weak mind justifies quitting. The mind can be your weapon or your executioner. It will either serve you or sabotage you. It depends entirely on how you train it. The untrained mind seeks comfort at all costs. It screams at you to stop when things get hard. It whispers that you can always try tomorrow. But tomorrow is a lie that comfort tells the weak. There is no tomorrow. There is only the decision you make now. And unless you discipline your mind to act regardless of mood, you will be trapped in the same cycles of hesitation, delay, and self-sabotage. Training the mind means doing what needs to be done whether you feel like it or not. It means observing your emotions but not obeying them. It means developing the internal toughness to hear the inner voice saying, "Stop, it's too hard," and calmly responding, "We keep going." It is not about suppressing emotion. It's about leading your emotions instead of being led by them. It's about building the habit of not negotiating with weakness. This process starts with awareness. You must begin to notice the patterns of your thinking. How quickly you justify skipping the work. How easily you let distractions win. How softly you speak to yourself when you should be demanding more. Most people are not even aware that their minds have become lazy, flabby, and undisciplined. They believe every thought that appears. They follow every craving without question. They surrender to every excuse without resistance. This is how they stay broken. The mind, left untrained, is a professional liar. It will sell you comfort in exchange for your potential. It will sell you pleasure in exchange for your progress. It will tell you that it's okay to skip the hard things, that it's okay to be soft today. And if you believe it, you will build a life of quiet regret. But when you begin to train your mind, you no longer accept the story that says you can't. You start to challenge the voice that says you should stop. You start to question the impulses that used to control you, and slowly you develop the power to act in direct opposition to your mood. You create a gap between stimulus and response. You gain the ability to sit in discomfort without running away. You start to control your emotional weather. You build the skill to face a storm and walk through it without losing your step. Training the mind is not a one-time event. It is daily warfare. It is waking up and facing the voice that wants to make excuses. It is showing up when your mood says you can't. It is pushing when your emotions beg you to stop. It is consistency in the face of chaos, and over time, it becomes your default setting. You become someone who does the hard things as naturally as you used to avoid them. You become someone who doesn't need to feel motivated because you've built the discipline to act anyway. When your mind becomes your ally instead of your enemy, you become unstoppable. You stop quitting when things get hard. You stop collapsing under pressure. You stop chasing comfort. You develop emotional resilience, the ability to suffer without folding, the ability to act decisively without waiting for the perfect mood. You begin to trust yourself. You know you will show up regardless of how you feel. That self-trust is the foundation of unshakable confidence. And here's what most people don't understand. True confidence doesn't come from past success. It comes from knowing you can execute even when everything in you says not to. It comes from knowing you can suffer without surrender. It comes from seeing yourself win the internal battle repeatedly. That's when you begin to walk with power, not because life is easy, but because you have trained yourself to remain strong when life is hard. You can't hack this process. You can't shortcut it. You must do the work. You must face the uncomfortable moments. You must lean into the urge to quit and choose to push instead. You must override the story that says you're not ready, not capable, not strong enough. You must prove to yourself that you can dominate your mood, that you can rise above emotional weakness, that you can act with power even when you feel powerless. The person who trains their mind to obey their goals instead of their mood becomes dangerous. They are the ones who finish the race when others give up. They are the ones who build when others delay. They are the ones who keep moving when others freeze. They don't chase motivation. They create momentum. They don't rely on feeling good. They rely on being disciplined. And the most beautiful part, this is accessible to anyone. You don't need special talent. You don't need to be born strong. You don't need to wait for the right time. You can start now. You can train your mind moment by moment, decision by decision. You can stop being a victim of your feelings and start becoming the leader of your life. It won't be easy. You will face resistance. You will hear the inner voice telling you to go back to comfort. But every time you choose action over mood, every time you choose progress over pleasure, every time you choose discipline over excuses, you win. And these small internal victories compound. They build you, they reshape you, they free you from the prison of your old self. The mind can either break you or build you, train it, master it, make it your strongest weapon. Because when your mind obeys your purpose, nothing can stop you.